I am Kuba Campbell, and welcome to my YouTube page. This is the official relaunch of the page. If you're here, you may have seen me on TikTok, on Instagram. I'm a licensed trauma therapist, and I share like small bites of wisdom and insight and skills to help you heal. But here we are in long form, where we can chat, where we can kiki, where we can cry, where we can talk a little bit more. So today I just want to jump right in, to be quite honest. We are going to talk about distress tolerance. So I haven't heard many people talk about distress tolerance. I realize that it's a skill that is absolutely necessary in any healing journey. So what is distress tolerance? Distress tolerance is simply the ability to manage distressing emotions, which sounds so basic, but it's much more complicated than it sounds. When you can't manage distressing emotions, it's really hard to process past pain. Like, how do you process your past pain if getting close to it brings up big emotions that you don't have the skills to manage? And I find more times than not that people actually want to heal. They just don't have the skills to heal. Like, they physiologically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually feel overloaded to the point that they are like shut down and checked out, and healing just feels impossible because sometimes we're trying to like go straight into like from being sedentary in life, the metaphor, to like lifting like 300 pounds. The truth is, like, you have to build strength incrementally, and you build off of the progress that you're making bit by bit, so that one day you can exert that type of strength and effort. So I think that sometimes the small bites, which I love sharing, can make us feel like, okay, now you have that 60-second resource. Now get up and talk about your childhood trauma. Get up and set that boundary. But that's not how it works, because to be able to deal with the trauma, to be able to set the boundary, to be able to even like figure out what boundary needs to be set, you have to be willing to endure distress. You have to be willing to sit with emotions that you don't like, that feel uncomfortable in your body, that you may not have the skills to deal with. So I think it's a really important subject to talk about, because I just don't hear it talked about a lot. And I think that people are like, okay, so what do I do with it? I don't have distress tolerance. First, understanding what distress tolerance is, managing difficult emotions. Second, figuring out why it matters. You need distress tolerance because even doing the things that you need to do for yourself to be healthy may not feel good. Doing the right thing does not always feel good. Doing the helpful thing, doing the healthy thing doesn't always feel good. So if we don't have the skills to manage feelings of distress, then we're going to run away from anything that brings up feelings that we're not prepared to deal with. So what do I do with my clients when they need to build distress tolerance, when they need to start at the very bottom? I'm talking to people who like cannot talk or share how they feel without crying, or can't like share an opinion or say, I don't like that. Listen, if you can't tell the nail lady you don't like that shape, you may need a little bit of distress tolerance skills, right? Because it's a perfect example. It sounds simple, but how many of us, including myself, have sat in a nail shop and they're doing my nails all wrong, it's jacked up, or they clipped you or something, and the entire time you're just like, I cannot say anything because I just cannot deal with it. Well, why can't you deal with it? There's a sensation in your body that you don't know what to do with and that you're not acquainted with, right? So distress tolerance, working through it, building it, picking up like the 2.5 weights instead of jumping to the 300s right away. It starts with us being in our bodies. Oftentimes, we are realizing that we are in our bodies only when we're feeling negative things in our bodies. It's almost like we're just kind of like going about our day, and then like someone says something and it brings about an emotion. Emotion is a physiological response to an external stimuli, right? An emotion comes up, there's a rush of hormones, we feel that adrenaline, and we're like, ooh, oh my gosh, this doesn't feel good. And then we try to distract from it, right? But taking time to, at any moment, good, bad, indifferent, and just taking a moment, closing your eyes. I like to put my hand on my heart and just saying to myself, what emotion am I feeling right now? And where do I feel it? Just notice through that. Distress tolerance is a big part of developing emotional intelligence. I'm going to go a little too far, but I promise I'll make other videos on this. And emotional intelligence is half self-regulation, which includes distress tolerance, self-regulation, the ability to manage my emotions. And the other half is emotional literacy, being able to name emotions. How can we deal with emotions that we can identify? How can we process emotions that we can't locate in our body, I can't. And the reason why it's so important to say and be able to answer the question, where do you feel it in your body? Like, what is the evidence that you're experiencing this? Right? Like, how do you know that you're angry? I'm sweating. My palms are hot. I'm shaking. My heart rate is high. There's always going to be a physiological response to something that elicits an emotion. That doesn't mean that people will always be able to see it, but there will be a physiological response. Looking calm is not the same thing as being regulated. Looking calm is not the same thing as being at peace. And I think a lot of us have been tricked into thinking, if I look calm, that's good enough. But looking calm's not enough. It's not about what it looks like. It's about what it feels like, right? So for those of us who struggle with emotional regulation and need to develop that distress tolerance, usually it came from us getting too much too early. What does that look like? It looks like experiencing as a little child an adult unleashing all of their rage on you. Now your body has memorized it is unsafe when people are angry at me. So what do? I remove myself, whether mentally, emotionally, or physically, and I shut down. Or I panic, I thrash out. And so many of us, when we're developing distress tolerance, we have to acknowledge why we don't have the skills for the tolerance and why we have the distress in the first place. Right? So if there is like an emotion that you struggle to connect to, an emotion you struggle to process, an emotion that you're like, I just cannot feel that emotion, ask yourself, when is the first time I remember really feeling this emotion? Or when did I experience this emotion most growing up? And how was I taught explicitly, which is like them telling you on purpose, or implicitly about this emotion, right? So like, come from an African household, shame is like really pervasive in our culture. And so the idea of like asking for help and not feeling competent brought up a lot of shame, right? And so, but then it comes like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because then you need help and you don't want to ask for help because you feel like ashamed that you need help. But then you end up ashamed because you end up messing something up because you needed help and you didn't have the skills to deal with it, right? So our time today is really about us getting a moment to start like the very small process of develop and safe process, because this is not a replacement for therapy, okay? Don't be suing me. I need to keep my license. This is a place for us to get started, right? So one of the skills I like to do with my clients is a body scan. And I'm going to walk you through what a body scan is. So I want you to get nice and comfy, because it's fun to talk, but it's also fun to get the actual skills that you can apply now in the moment. For those of you who don't know, I specialize in trauma, but I also specialize in experiential work, meaning when I work with my clients, we're not just sitting and talking, we are doing, right? Instead of tell me, it's show me. That looks like if they feel rejected by a family member, I'll be like, show me how far you feel from this family member. And they'll get up and walk the distance that they feel represents the distance between them and that family member. And I think it's really powerful for everyone, but I also think it's really powerful for people of color, because a lot of the pain that we carry is in our bodies. It's not just thoughts and cognitions and perceptions. it's encoded into our DNA, and to resolve it, we have to include our body into the process. And this is how we include our body into the process of building strength and skill to deal with distress so that we can do the things we need to do, set the boundaries, have the conversations, and also, here's like the other part of distress tolerance before we do this activity. How we manage, not how much distress, but how we manage distress is a gauge for how deeply we feel joy. How we manage distress is a gauge for how deeply we feel joy, right? If we don't have a plan to manage uncomfortable emotions, so we just kind of like disappear when they appear, we're probably doing the same thing with the positive ones, right? Not knowing how to manage sadness and anger often means we don't really know how to hold on to joy and excitement, right? It's all correlated, it's all connected, right? And you deserve to hold on to joy and excitement instead of just to act it out and look like you're joyful and excited. You deserve to actually feel it in your body and hold on to that sensation. Let it go with you through the day, through the week, through the month, through the year. And a lot of us, because we can't tolerate and manage the distress, we can't hold on and appreciate the joy. So this is called a body scan. Love doing it with my clients. My clients know what it is. They're probably so excited I'm doing this on YouTube now. So I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath. I want you to get nice and comfortable, lay back, uncross your legs, uncross your arms. Be in a place that feels safe. And now I want you to think about the last conversation you had with a friend. And as you think about this last conversation that you have with a friend, I want you to think about what emotion came up and where you felt that emotion in your body. I'll give you a second because hopefully you're doing this live. What emotion came up, where you felt it in your body. All right. So you have the emotion, you have the location. Now I want you to imagine that this emotion in the specific area of your body has a texture. What is the texture of that emotion? Is it bumpy? Is it scaly? Is it spiky? Is it viscous like water? We have the emotion, we have the location, and now we have the texture. The texture. So now I want you to think about the temperature. If this emotion had a temperature, what would it be? Would it be super hot, like boiling, bubbling? Would it be ice cold to the touch? Would it be lukewarm? Would it be just kind of warm? Would it just be kind of cold? Like, what temperature would it be? So we have the emotion, we have the location, we have the texture, we have the temperature. And I want you for 30 seconds to simply turn your attention. I'm going to probably do 10 because that's long on YouTube time. Turn your attention to that, and I want you to focus on it for 10 seconds. Whatever that emotion is, positive, difficult, neutral, whatever that emotion is, focus on it. And now I want you to put your hand on your belly, take a deep breath. And you can open your eyes now. So that body scan seems so simple, so basic, but really what that body scan is doing, it's teaching your body, I can sit with any emotion for a little bit. When we feel like, oh, I can do this for a little bit, we often feel a sense of joy, a sense of pride, a sense of confidence and courage. And guess what? All those emotions are meant to do, motivate us to continue on the path that we're on, right? So now, over time, maybe do that for a week. And then next week, you're like, oh, I'm going to sit with this. Instead of like opening up the app, I do this for myself. Instead of just like opening up an app and rage scrolling because I'm annoyed right now, I'm just going to sit in this car, close my eyes. Emotion, location, texture, temperature. Just focus on it. Breathe through it. I can sit in these emotions. I can be with the emotions in my body. I can be present with myself in distress, and I will survive, and I will be okay. And saying I will survive is such an important word. You don't have to say it out loud, but it's important for you to like internalize that and even think it, because the body is not processing logic. The body's processing experience. And there are times as children where our parents like lost it on us, where as kids, as a 6-year-old, you did think you were going to die. And maybe as an adult, cognitively, you're thinking like, just because they cuss me out or they're upset with me doesn't mean I'm going to die. But that doesn't mean it doesn't activate the same circuits that were created when you were 6 and you did feel that way, right? This is about being present with ourselves and patient with ourselves in a way that we didn't get when we were younger, in a way that we deserved, and in a way that we need to move forward so that we can live lives that we love and enjoy and feel safe and free in. So I hope that was helpful for you. I wanted to just do like a little like tidbit on distress tolerance. I think that it's a skill that requires courage, a skill that requires intimacy with ourselves, and a skill that requires us being honest and open about what we're feeling, what we're thinking. If you're like, I could not think about an emotion, like I couldn't name it, I'll add an emotion wheel in the show notes. And is that what they're called on YouTube? Show notes? Either way, in the thingy below the video, I will add a link to that. I also have a workbook. As soon as it's available, I'll add it here, or you can visit www.kobecampbell.com and you can go get that workbook. And it's like this plus 12 other skills. It's like a 50-page workbook that helps you with distress tolerance so that you can build the emotional strength to do the things that you need to do to walk along your journey of healing. So we talked about the courage that is necessary when you are building distress tolerance. And I have an amazing resource for you that I'm really excited about as a therapist and just as a person. I'm really excited to partner with Kinship. Kinship is a platform for authentic community and real connection. So they have these sessions, and the way they're set up is there'll be a talk similar to this, except for after the talk, there's a breakout group, and you get to have a conversation with a group of people who listen to the same talk as you, who have the same concerns, who are going through the same things, and want the same things out of life. And I think it's such a powerful way to get support in your mental health and build relationship, build connections. So go to ourkinship.com, put in the code Kobe, Kobe, and you'll get 1 free month on the platform. I think there's a study that talked about how like loneliness is like one of the biggest epidemics. That like being lonely is like smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And this is such a remedy for loneliness. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I want to talk about some of the things that Kobe is bringing up, or I want to process, or I just want to be around other people and hear what their thoughts are on something I'm going through, Kinship is an incredible place to go. So again, ourkinship.com/Kobe, Kobe. All right, you guys, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. I have been waiting to say that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with a friend. Share this with somebody who's like trying to figure out, okay, like, what am I doing with my life? I want to heal. I don't know where to start. This is a great free resource for them to get started on the healing journey. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.